What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning back into the network. This is the SledgeHammer Wrestling Show's Raw Review. I am Nick Nightmare, your host, as always, bringing you the news and the snooze because Monday Night Raw was absolutely awful. In fact, that's what we're going to call it from now on. It's just rawful. It was absolutely atrocious. Thank you once again for tuning in. Let's get into it. So before we get into the trash fest that I had to sit through last night, just going to tell you guys a little bit of honest truth, and that is that it's been a rough week here at the SledgeHammer Sports Network. We've been trying like hell to get the video to work, and, I have a nice little HD cam, and I got my OBS studio, and I set up my layouts and all my cool little effects that you guys are used to seeing on the screen, which have kind of been slacking off lately because I'm spending too much time trying to make cool stuff for you to look at when I should just be showing you my beautiful face. And for some reason, I shouldn't say for some reason, I'm trapped in the Stone Age as far as my technology goes. I'm running all this stuff off a 4-year-old laptop, and it's just not capable of handling what I need it to do in order to render and record video. Everything's coming out like a Skype call, like a bad Skype call. It looks good to me on the screen when I'm taping it, and then I go and play the file back, and I'm all choppy and messed up. And, the laptop should be well enough to do something like that. I can't even live stream. I've learned a new phrase this week, and it's encoding overload. And that's all I see at the bottom of the screen when I'm trying to do anything with the programs that I need to do and use to do these podcasts the right way so that they look good and that they feel good and that I look good and the screen is entertaining and, it's all in the works, guys. But as technology will do, it is not cooperating with me at all. It's been very fucking frustrating. I mean, there's all these cool little stickers on the laptop that says how great it is, featuring Radeon graphics, AMD, blah, 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 this and that. Not doing me no good. So we need an upgrade. And in order to do that, we need some more subscribers so we can try to make some more cash. You could always donate to the show in any way. It's never an obligation, only if you feel I'm worth whatever you feel I'm worth. But I'm working on a way for you to do that. We are a member at patreon.com. You could always go and donate over there. But I'm not sitting here begging for money. We're sitting here to talk about Monday Night Rawful. It's hard to kind of say. Sounds like I'm saying waffle, but it's rawful. Absolutely horrendous show last night. Here's some stats for you, and I want to throw a thanks out to my buddy Rusty on Twitter because he was on Twitter last night, and he tweeted out these little facts here, which is during the first hour of Monday Night Raw full, we had 35 minutes of bullshit, 35 minutes of promo, talking, commercials, plugging, Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, all that nonsense. 20 minutes of commercial break. So right there, within the first hour, you have 55 minutes without any wrestling. Because 4 minutes of actual wrestling is all we got. This trend continued into the second hour. 30 more minutes of bullshit. And this was mainly dominated by the tag team segment. And we're going to get to all of that shortly. I just want to finish reading these out. 16 minutes of commercial break time. And then only 14 minutes of actual wrestling, which is using that term loosely because the matches during the second hour were real just unnecessary filler, dreck, whatever kind of negative connotation you guys might want to add to it. The show is so bad that it limits my vocabulary because there's no words properly to describe just how much they're fucking everything up. It's just, to a wrestling fan, an old school fan, guys with minds like me, You know, when we think about the product and we think about pro wrestling, this stuff with the talent you have, it should just write itself. Like, how can I be on the outside looking in and come up with 3 or 4 different scenarios that could have worked out better tonight? First of all, Raw came to us not live tonight. It was a taped show. It's happened already days ago, and this is probably because of the time differential between Europe and the United States. Like, they probably couldn't get it to coincide. I don't care what the reason is. Tape shows allow them to manipulate even further, because now they have a chance to watch the show back and really tweak it. And there was a lot of evidence of that in this episode of Rawful, because there were people on Twitter throughout the night, as I was, tweeting that they were there for Raw, and they're sitting and they're watching with us, and they're telling us that what we're seeing on the screen is not what happened. Or it's not that it's not what happened, it's not being portrayed the way it was. Now, you can say this is because, you know, when you're there, everything seems amped up, but I don't believe that. I believe that this is true because, you know, Noam Dar is a cruiserweight performer that nobody's really familiar with, but he's from Scotland. And when he came out, the crowd seemed to go pretty good. Like, I felt like there was a big cheer there, but I almost felt like, wow, it's kind of weak for a hometown guy. And then you have people putting up video from their phones and shit that they had there, and the reactions are just incredible. This is also evident during the women's segment, almost towards the end of the show, which we'll get more in depth about later. But there's proof on Twitter and there's videos going up that the crowd was almost like Daniel Bryan-esque when, you know, they got all behind him and was doing the yes chant. And that WrestleMania moment he had, how loud the arena was. People were attributing what Bayley was in Scotland to that moment. And that is not what we saw on TV at all. I mean, it was blatant that they hijacked the crowd, hijacked the performance of the women, and were clearly in the favor of Bayley. And we're going to get more in-depth into that in just a few minutes. The only little glimpse of hope that I had in this show is that after the 20-minute bullshit segment at the beginning of the show, they decided to give us a cruiserweight match. And I turned to my wife and I said to her, the only thing they can do now to mess this up for the cruiserweights is not give them at least 10 minutes. And for sure, the match went about 7 minutes. 4 minutes of which we spent watching Chris Chrisley and KFC and Popeye's fucking commercials because they don't care about wrestling. At least not like we do. And it's a shame because they finally had them in the right spot and they didn't allow them to wrestle a cruiserweight style. They didn't allow them to do all the things that would have got the crowd energized. I know maybe to you, when you sat there and watched, it seemed like the crowd popped, but the crowd only popped when Noam Dar was in the ring. When Rich Swann was in there doing all his shucking and jiving, you know, and even after the match was over, and who won, who doesn't matter, you know, all right, Rich Swann and Sin Cara, they picked up the victory. Brian Kendrick takes a pin again. All the champions keep getting pinned. Charlotte also took a pinfall tonight. She just won Hell in a Cell. I'm a little bit all over the place because it just baffles me. You know, you started off the show with your Survivor Series team bickering like little bitches and fighting like children, and that is not what should be the focus right now. The focus should be on beating SmackDown, because SmackDown's focus is on beating Raw. And Raw's so terrible that they're taking something that SmackDown's doing, like Dolph Ziggler's open challenge. Notice the phrase, open challenge. And have turned it into a storyline for their show. And Mick Foley chooses Sami Zayn. Like, we don't see this. This is only relayed to us through Stephanie McMahon. That Sami Zayn is Mick Foley's choice to enter the open challenge. Then it's not really an open challenge, is it? And what's wrong with surprising people? Can anybody tell me what's wrong with a surprise? Why did we have to know this 2 weeks out? What are you going to do to build Sami Zayn and Dolph Ziggler interpromotionally in the next week and a half that we have before Survivor Series? You can't do that. You are dumb. This was a stupid decision just to have another match between Sami and Rusev like we haven't seen them wrestle enough when Sami first came up. And let me say this about that. Sami Zayn is being treated like garbage. Stephanie McMahon is just talking down to him like he's a scrappy little garbage pail kid or something. Like, nobody likes you. I don't like you. I don't like your music. I don't like your face. I don't like your slogan. Who the fuck cares what Stephanie McMahon thinks? We love Sami Zayn for whatever reason we love him. I have my reasons. I'm sure you have yours. You may not like Sami Zayn. You may not like his beard. What the fuck do I know? You know what I know? I know Sami Zayn deserves better than this. This is a guy that has gone in the ring with some of the best that wrestling has to offer. We've seen him fight Shinsuke Nakamura. We've seen him fight Kevin Owens. We've seen him fight Finn Balor. All the stuff he did at NXT is just completely washed away because of the way that they're treating him on Monday Night Raw. It's absolutely ridiculous. And now they're teasing the fact that the Intercontinental Championship might be coming back to Raw. Why? Why? So now I don't want Sami Zayn to win unless they pull a double switch here and Sami feels slighted by everybody's comments, mostly Stephanie, and feels slighted by not being used, much like Cesaro feels. And when he wins that title, Stephanie's going to expect him to come to Raw. Maybe he'll be like, you know what, screw you, I'm staying on SmackDown. I'm keeping this title with me. You don't care about me, you don't respect me. I won the Intercontinental title for Raw, but I'm staying here on SmackDown with Daniel Bryan and Shane. That would be a great way to go about it, especially now that you ruined it. Because if you would have held that, can you imagine the reaction Sami Zayn would have got if he came out at Survivor Series as the unknown mystery opponent representing Raw against SmackDown? And, we know it's going to happen now. We wouldn't have known. Why can't we be surprised? Why can't you hold things back? That would give people a reason to tune in because nobody still knows. Everybody be speculating. Yeah, most of us would have expected Sami Zayn. Some of us would have thought it was Cesaro. Even though he's in the tag team main event, which is just absolute, I can't even begin to tell you how disappointed I am at the way that they are building Raw's teams on this show. Every single angle is booked the same fucking way. The women, the tag, and the men. You got 3 teams on Raw. None of them are getting along. You're giving them no reasons to unite as a team. Why don't you have some kind of interference from somebody on SmackDown? I mean, any jerk-off could tell you, why don't you have Baron Corbin come out and just lay waste to one of them? Who could it be? You don't want anybody to look bad. Have him just come out and stare down Braun Strowman and be like, listen, big man, I ain't scared of you. We're going to take you out in 2 weeks. I'm here on your turf. What are you going to do about it? You could do a million things. Like I said, this stuff could almost write itself if you just look at it, at all the pieces in play, and you figure you got 2 weeks left to build. Why don't you do some type of little invasion? Have these guys going back and forth. Make it seem like they care about this match in some sort of way. They still haven't given any type of stipulation or reason for this match, which, it's been highly talked about amongst us in the podcast community, on the internet wrestling community, online. And some of these guys, and I can credit this to Solomonster, he had this idea that a lot of people are talking about, which is you got Raw versus SmackDown, right? And, at the Royal Rumble, the winner gets the title shot, so you don't want to do that. But here's what you can do. Winner of this match gets to have the main event of WrestleMania. Have it have an importance that you can't measure. We are going to bring the main event of WrestleMania to our show. Doesn't matter who it is. We are going to have the main event. We are going to close the show. Because the end of the show is always supposed to be the most important. And fighting for that would give us reason to believe that these guys might actually get on the same page and start to do some stuff and care about representing the brand. It's like American League versus National League in baseball. You know, the All-Star game now decides who gets home field. So it's an important game. Let's bring back the importance of these Survivor Series matches. Make it a tradition. I know they're afraid of that word now, but make it a tradition. Every year at Survivor Series, the winning team between the brands gets the main event at WrestleMania. It's a fantastic idea. But as of right now, there's still absolutely no plans for that to be in motion whatsoever. So we'll see if anything like that comes up. The whole tag team thing, it was 25 minutes of making the Raw team look like complete garbage. All these guys did was bicker and bitch and moan at each other, and nobody wants to be part of a team with the New Day. Why would you not want to be on a team with the World Tag Team Champions? Just because they like to have a little fun? Gallows and Anderson wanted out. Sheamus and Cesaro, who shouldn't even be in it, wanted out. Enzo and Cass were just kind of standing there watching everything. You know, this whole segment made no sense. And what did it lead to? It led up to, it was 20 minutes, 25 minutes of them yapping that led to finally a match between the New Day and Gallows and Anderson. Again. Like we haven't seen it 50 times in the last 2 months. And the only surprising thing here is that Gallows and Anderson got the win. Holy shit. They actually gave these guys a pinfall. Good for them. It still doesn't mean anything. They're sitting there telling the New Day that they're going to turn on the team the first chance they get. And I hope that's exactly what they do, and they cost them the match, and they end up on Smackdown. They reunite with AJ because that's where they belong. And they have had nothing at all given to them on Raw, and they need to leave. Either go back to New Japan or go to Smackdown, because Gallows and Anderson, much like everybody else that we're going to talk about tonight, deserves a lot more respect than that. After that match, we had another tag match, which was between the Golden Truth and the Shining Stars. Who cares? The Golden Truth is part of that Survivor Series tag match. They were out there trying to be funny. The whole segment was not funny. Not at all. The only thing that made me snicker a little bit is when he named the bagpipes Agnes, and the crowd kind of got behind it right away. How can he get over a bag of bagpipes, but you can't get over Kevin Owens with the world title? And you can't get over, Sami Zayn. But Xavier Woods can go out there and just talk about a fucking windbag, and the crowd eats it up. I don't understand it. Altogether, about 45 minutes to 50 minutes dedicated to just tag team nothing. Absolute nothing. It meant nothing. It did nothing. Everything is exactly the same as it was going into the whole entire segment, which makes it absolutely worthless. The same can be said for the women's segment. Now, we're going to reference again what we talked about a little earlier, in that they took the footage and turned down the volume. Not only that, they cut to commercial much quicker than they wanted to, because Charlotte clearly lost control of the crowd and the whole segment. All these girls were trying to get their lines in, even Bayley herself. They wouldn't let her speak. They would much rather sit there and sing Bayley's little song that they sing. Because you need to understand, the WWE comes to Scotland, goes to Europe once, maybe twice a year. So these guys are going to do what they want to do. Obviously, the people in Scotland watch NXT because they know the Bayley song that the crowd sings. And that's all they wanted to do, was sing to Bayley. And that's what we got for almost 10 minutes. And Charlotte could not get their attention. Even Nia Jax speaking didn't matter. Alicia Fox, what the fuck, man? What was that shit? Even Cole. And I don't give a shit what Michael Cole thinks, but even Michael Cole looked confused and kind of annoyed at whatever garbage she was spewing, because it made no sense. She said absolutely nothing. It was just blah, blah, blah. It didn't make any sense. The only thing, like I said, to note here is the crowd took over this whole segment. And why is that a bad thing? It's not, to me. The crowd is 100% part of the show. The fans sometimes make the show. The crowd in New York can make or break a show. And they know this going in. And for them to actually mess with the tape footage and lower the volume for the boos on Roman Reigns and lower the volume for the cheering of Bayley and lower the volume for the cheers of Noam Dar. But what are we going to do? Raise the volume for what? For nothing? I mean, why are they even messing with it at all? It's very clear if you watch any of those videos. And I know it's coming from a camera phone and it can tend to sound louder, but it's obvious because you could see the crowd reacting. And they did not look like they were reacting on camera. It's almost like they only used the scenes where you couldn't tell the crowd was really into it. I don't know. It was very awkward. And then when they cut to commercial, almost in the middle of Charlotte's sentence, and then they come back and we're live with action. First of all, you're not live, and they kept saying they were live. And that's fucking annoying. And another annoying thing, after this little tag match that meant nothing, again, putting the people that are supposed to be unifying themselves into a team against one another, no sense, didn't make sense. And then after this, they show the graphic for the 5-on-5 match, and you got 6 women in each side in the picture. You had Dana Brooke, who's not part of the team, and you have Natalya for the Smackdown side, who was banned from the team after she lost to Nikki Bella. What are they doing in the picture? The damn graphic says 5-on-5 women's match, and we got 6 women on each side. Who is running this shit? What is happening over there? Everybody that works for WWE Creative is fucking clueless. I mean, the word in the job description is creative, and they can't be creative. Putting the 5 men up against each other in the biggest teaming that probably has ever happened in the modern day. You got the 5 biggest stars on Raw, minus Braun Strowman, going up against the 5 biggest guys on SmackDown, and all they want to do is fight with each other. You're not giving us any reason to care about this match. And essentially, you're ruining Survivor Series before it even gets started. That's your review, guys. I mean, this whole entire show fucking sucked from start to finish. It just was slow. It was draggy. It was too much talking. Like I said, you know, when if you go back and really take a look at the breakdown of how much wrestling we actually got, which was only kind of pushed till the end, the last 2 matches weren't bad, you know, but I was already checked out. I didn't care anymore. It just wasn't worth it to me. And I'm looking forward to SmackDown tonight, because as we've said on this channel anyway, SmackDown is definitely the A show. Not only do they have the better champion, they have a better tag division, even though it's not great. You know, it's only got 6, 7, 8 tag teams, just like Raw, but their tag teams, you know, are actually tag teams, not like Sheamus and Cesaro. I mean, Heath Slater and Rhino are killing it right now. It's good stuff. I mean, take out the Spirit Squad from everything I just said, because that's the only bad tag team they got going on over there. And the women, their women's division makes Raw's look like absolute trash, because the Raw's women's division is just Sasha and Charlotte and Bayley. And then over there, all these girls in SmackDown are getting equal time. Nikki Bella, Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Naomi. There's already 4 people that have been elevated to superstardom. Nikki Bella, after this brand split, has been fantastic. Alexa Bliss, since she's been called up, has been the one bright spot of SmackDown until they started to really come together now. And she's just part of a well-oiled, much better put-together show. It doesn't matter that it's only 2 hours and Raw is 3 hours. There is no excuse when you have a 3-hour wrestling show to put on and you give me about, what is it here? About 40 minutes of wrestling total, split out across 6 matches. So what's your average? About 9 minutes per match? 6 matches, and all the rest of the time is going to be devoted to Susan G. Komen and Brooklyn Goldberg. And how many times did we have to see that package? Who cares what Goldberg has to say? We saw what happened last week. We saw you stumble and trip We saw you give Paul Heyman a terrible spear. We're not looking forward to this match anymore. If you were looking forward to it in the first place, you know, like I almost was, I'm already disappointed. This match is gonna be maybe just as bad as the one they've had before, unless Goldberg really does something to step it up, and I don't see that really happening. That's it. I can't even go on. I don't want to keep talking about it. I don't want to, you know, during the women's match, we're going to say one last thing. During the women's match, my least favorite woman since Eva Marie has gone, as we all know on this show, is Dana Botch. Dana Brooke, Miss Piggy. And there was a spot in tonight's women's match where she almost caved Bayley's head in accidentally with her knees. This lady does not belong in the ring. She doesn't belong on Raw. And the fact that she's there because she's sucking some creative guy's knob is just atrocious. And it's getting her heat with the girls, and I hope after this whole Survivor Series thing is over, she either gets sent back down to NXT or released. Because the only reason I have to be put through your sausage ass in my face every Monday night, ruining the women's division with your wretched, shrill voice and your disgusting face and your fat sausage body, is because you're banging one of them. You're banging one of the creative team. And Cody Rhodes said it. He said, you know, these guys on the creative team are too worried about chasing divas. And I guess he was right. And Dana Brooke is proof. Because there's no reason for her to be on my television screen. Or yours. Or anybody's. And that's really going to be the end. Thank you guys so much for tuning back in. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. We will be back with some of our original wrestling content. We'll try to have a Smackdown review up later on tonight, if not tomorrow. The Nightmare Room's 10th episode coming up probably this weekend. I'm working on some good stuff, and hopefully I will get this video shit straightened out without having to buy a whole new system. Thank you guys so much. For Blue, the Snowball microphone, I'm Nick Nightmare. This has been the SledgeHammer Wrestling Show's Raw Review. I love you guys. Have a good one.